Welcome back to Ladder League Recaps. We are here with Week 5, and the ladder's getting very small, but the stakes are getting very high. This Rung 2 race here is going to decide if you are in Rung 1 with 2 chances to qualify to top 8 before the wildcard match, or if you are down in the elimination Rung 2 race where you need to get first place to even have 1 chance of making it directly into the playoffs. And additionally, for a guy like Bricko, the favorite in this race, you're really hoping you don't have to get that 7 or 8 seed and need to play one of the tied world record holders at the top of the leaderboard. You know, that meeting with Anorak, if you get the 6 seed, is going to feel quite a bit more comfortable for someone like him. So, coming into this race, Bricko as the favorite definitely needs to get it done right here if he wants to get a favorable top 8 matchup. But it's not going to get off to a very good start. Going to miss ICS. Pretty rare mistake at the top level, though we have seen it a few times in these no reset settings in Ladder League. The thing is, for Bricko, that's not the end of his problems. He's going to miss lap 1 God Fraud. And coming into lap 3 now, really needs to get something going on his side. Again, he's going to get the pause frame, but again, he's going to miss the hype boost. And he's just right back in bounds. That is another big 30-second time loss. 3 of them in a row for our favorite in this race, and it's a chance for these others to chase. I mean, Colton coming in a pretty big underdog. He also gets the clip out, but also misses the hype boost on lap 1. Trying to recover it, though, he's still out of bounds, and he does after... It takes him some time, but he is going to get that hype boost finally, and he will get lap 1 God Fraud. Unfortunately for him, it does not quite get lap 3. Instead, that's going to be Flaming Laser that is going to go 2 for 2 on God Fraud. And Flaming Laser is going to be the one taking a pretty significant lead coming out of the early game. He gets it on lap 1, he gets it on lap 3. Really good start from him. And that's going to be a pretty big lead. And it's going to be Bricko in the last place. And he's going to be behind by even a little bit more after he misses R4 Fly. And a chance for Colton, who was really quite a big underdog coming into this race, to maybe do something here, but he's going to miss R4 Fly too. And, Bricko was able to get his second try. Colton does not. This is going to be, actually a win for Bricko and at least the race to claw back second place early on. But it's only going to get worse for Colton, actually. Now, he is going to get the Camino button skip out of bounds, but he's going to fall under the floor. And he does think about kind of going for this backup here where you just... It's really slow, but you can eventually warp R4 over if you go that way. But he's instead going to bail. He's going to take the buttons. So when Bricko's able to get KBS clean on his first try, that's going to actually mean Camino is a pretty big advantage level for him compared to Colton. But also, Flaming Laser, maybe the bigger deal here, he has a very clean Camino. He is going to be in a pretty commanding first place position after this. It's a really nice start from him, but, Bricko is the favorite for a reason, and he is going to start to claw that lead back. Once we, get settled in this race, get to some more consistent levels, Bricko's going to play them very well and start to make up some time, and he's going to make up quite a lot of time on Dooku when Flaming Laser misses Dooku skip. I mean, what is going on? Now, he had a pretty big lead, so he is still going to be in first. As we come into Endor, very pivotal level, and a lot of struggle is going to come up for a Laser here. Now, about a month ago, Zach was doing a no reset run. He was racing a couple people. He was having some trouble, very similar to Laser, on this first gate skip, and very similar to Laser, he tried to shoot a trooper, ended up blowing up the panel that you need to jump on to get over the gate. And you can't go reload the room because player 1 is already across. You need all 6 players to press the buttons there. You need all 6 players to press the buttons right here to just open the first gate. Instead, what Zach discovered in that race that he did a month ago is that you can do this jump from behind onto that gear after using the panel to get over still and save the situation. If it wasn't for that little jump, this would be a soft lock. And if it wasn't for Zach doing this a month ago and discovering the backup live during his run, Laser would not have known what to do. But he actually came in with a pretty clear plan of attack. He, was very direct getting to that jump. You didn't play it perfectly, he hadn't practiced it. and it is still going to be a massive time loss. All of that missing first gate skip, the time to open the panel, all of that. So it is still going to pull Bricko into the lead. It could have been worse, but it's still pretty bad for Laser. Now, we interrupt this, exciting Bricko Laser race, though, to bring you the Colton interlude. And Colton not getting a ton of torpedoes in this 6-6 opening, but he is going to make his own luck with a couple of dupes. Pretty good opening. And coming into the interior, 2 torpedoes on player 1, 0 on player 2, and he's not quite going to slow down enough to get a second on player 2 there. 4 torpedoes up to that gate, so he's going to have no extras when he comes into this room. And the fastest movement gives you only 5 torpedoes. You don't need the 6th. He has 3 torpedoes in the core. This is enough. Player 2 targets. Player 1 targets. The problem is they both targeted the right target. He doesn't realize this. He thinks the gate is down. He uses his last torpedo, and he cannot get infinite torpedoes. He is screwed here. No way to open that gate. No way to get the red brick. He does not have IT. Now, coming into Chancellor, he's going to do this cool little auto switch that was found recently by, I believe, 7. Pretty good strat. And it could set him up to have a nice Chancellor. Decent droid clear there. And he is going to get out of bounds. He is going to climb this collision fairly quickly. But he's going to think he climbed it a little faster than he did. He did the fly, but there is a backup. You can land on top of the door, but that opens you up to the risk of reloading the room. And he never used the panel. He did MVE to get here. R2 AI, by the way, not cooperating at all, just runs off the edge, running away from the panel. You can't switch to him even, because he's just in the air. So he has to go and do backup second MVE attempt to even get back here. Crazy stuff going down for Colton. Coming into Vader now, last week he had a pretty devastating miss on that drop-in warp with a redrop-in. Gets it this time, gets pillar clip this time, and very fast grabbing that transition. Colton's someone who loves his CGs, loves to farm them, and he adds another one to the collection today. This is a Vader CG in the race for Colton. Everything going to plan here in Echo Base until at the very end, Colton's going to drop out player 1. Now, isn't that a little strange? Don't you need both players for the Falcon Flight opening? And that's true. Colton is going to drop player 1 right back in the Falcon Flight opening cutscene. So what's the point of this? Well, you'll notice player 1 right now is the X-Wing, player 2 is the Falcon. That's what the point of it is. Now, Colton doesn't have infinite torpedoes, but he's a very experienced LSW-2 runner. He knows the out-of-bounds in this room. And the out-of-bounds, the fastest out-of-bounds in this room, you can only do it on X-Wing, and it's much easier on controller. So Colton is going to get X-Wing on player 1, on controller, and he's going to hit the out-of-bounds first try. Really impressive stuff, given that you don't need to practice this at all, normally in TCS. But, Colton honestly playing this level very well. He's got 3 torpedoes on each character, loaded up for the boulder, but he might have to use them a little earlier than we thought. Unfortunate to pop in bounds there. When you lose sight of the character out of bounds, it's just a little tough sometimes. And Colton's gonna come into the boulder. He's got to farm up some torpedoes again. Really wishes he had those, though. He's gonna pull off a nice little dupe here, which that was pretty cool. But otherwise, still very big time loss in this level. I mean, Colton was already pretty far behind. The race was pretty much out of reach. He gave a lot of very fun stuff to show, but none of it really consequential. He was, pretty far behind in third, and I think really the moment he missed IT is when his fate is sealed. Even knowing he can play this level fairly well, it's just going to be. Colton came into this race pretty big underdog, but honestly, his PB is only 18 seconds off of Laser, technically. And I think on, especially Laser, his skill is not reflected by that PB, but there was still a hope. If Colton could pace that PB in a race, definitely could have put up a time that was very competitive here. That's been the story, really, in a lot of Colton's races, where he hasn't been the favorite. He can just get into his PB, he actually can hang with the top runners, but very hard to do that in practice, so that's going to be third place from Colton. Back to the race for first, though. On the topic of Episode 3 CGs, check out this Chancellor droid clearing from Bricko. Really immaculate stuff. Bricko actually going to come out of this Chancellor with a community gold. Little bit weird of a weird one because he does the extras menu in Coruscant. But, I mean, still, getting this in a race is really incredible. And really good stuff from Bricko to extend his lead that he gained in Endor. And coming into CCT, Laser, trying to chase, really needs to play well here, but he's just not going to catch up if he's playing like this, if he's missing DV1 this many times. A lot of trouble for him to get on the right part of that panel. And even when he lands at his line, he falls. It's just not quite there. Yeah, a really tough time loss from Laser on that DV1, but it's going to put Bricko into position with that DV3 hit to just walk in the first place victory. Laser going to be taking second, the 2:20.56, the time for those Rung 3 runners to beat if they want to leapfrog. Bricko definitely promoting to Rung 1, Colton definitely demoting to next week's Rung 2 of Elimination Rung, and one that's going to be very tough. It's going to contain, one top runner. Whoever loses Rung 1 is going to definitely be the favorite there, but still, Colton has a chance, just hanging on a little bit. Gonna need to put up a time better than this one going forward. Decent stuff from Bricko and Laser. I feel, honestly, like, in the Laser's case, I honestly feel like a little bit concerned about what I'm seeing, because it's just like, in week 1, he got such a good time, but also there was such obvious room for improvement. It really felt like he was going to get a 218 or better, like, any day. And he still hasn't done it. He doesn't do a lot of attempts outside of races, but when the race times are starting to look like this, a couple weeks in a row, I gotta ask, just a few questions about where he's going. And this brings us to Rung 3, where Wazip, Daimi, and Melovro fight off elimination. Only one runner survives. Also, though, that 2:20.56 is something to keep in mind. It is better than all of their event PBs, but Wazip has put up a leaderboard PB better than that time. So if he can play really well, he can get a leapfrog into Rung 1. We're going to start, though, with Melovro, who definitely is a bit behind these others in terms of skill. He got that leapfrog a couple weeks ago to really, hang around longer than anyone thought he would. But a little bit outmatched. He's going to have some trouble here. He gets some extra studs on player 1 there. Doesn't drop him out early enough, and that's just going to cause some extra time loss here in negotiations. It's not a ton, but he really needs all the time he can get in the early game when he is not going for Godfraud and these other two are. Now we see Daimi attempting it. He is going to get out of bounds, and I mean, this is, if you get both laps of Godfraud, that is like a 3-minute to Melovro. That's just kind of the thing with him. He needs these others to mess up, and Daimi certainly not doing it on lap 1. Able to get actually just it's a little awkward with the setup, but he backs it up very cleanly and ends up getting like a very perfect amount of speed coming around this corner. And into lap 3 now, Daimi hoping to go for 2 for 2. Does get out of bounds again. Not really a height boost there. So he's going to have to fight a little bit, but he just respawns on top of like a massive like TAS height boost. Don't really know what that is. But he's going to have a lot of speed. He does eventually navigate himself to the right part of the canyon, but both players come in bounds, so not really what you expect. He's going to start to lose some speed. He calls in. One player gets stuck on a rock. The other goes forward. A little bit strange here, but he does actually, still get it. He gets lap 3 Godfraud. And, that's going to mean Wazip needs to get this to keep up. And he is going to miss lap 3 Godfraud. Now, he got it on lap 1, still gaining some time there. But it is Daimi taking the lead. And Daimi is going to only extend that lead when we get into his absolute specialty level of Theed. I mean, it's Daimi and Theed. What do you expect? Like, he's going to play this incredibly. The time Daimi gets here is going to be a 4:31. That beats everyone else's gold by, like, over a second and a half. And keep in mind, they are saving, which loses like 2.5 seconds on its own. So the actual gameplay here is like 4 seconds better than anyone else's gold. Just like, it's really impossible to overstate how good Daimi is at this level. It's honestly insane. And when he does this for the other 35 levels in the game, it's just over for everyone else. So yeah, big lead for Daime. Gonna get a little bigger. Wazip going for lap 1, player 3 glitch, or room 1, I should say. Has a little bit of trouble with his character management, but he did at least get player 3 glitch. Not the biggest deal, but some time loss there. And now coming up on the fry skip transition hit, he does a little bit of an off-meta setup here. He doesn't just do like the hold left thing that's very easy. He does this other thing. I assume it's a little faster. That's like the only reason you would do it. But he's gonna miss it, and he has to go all the way back and reload the room. That's the risk he runs there. And the lead is about 2 minutes into DSC until Daime does this. Missing that transition, and it's actually Mellowbro kind of taking advantage of the situation. He does get trash skip. He makes things honestly very close with Wazip, who is starting to narrow the lead against Daime. You know, pretty promising stuff, though unfortunately for Mellow, he is just not quite going to be able to hang. I mean, in the later game, this episode 6 especially, Wazip is going to play very well here, and Mellow just unable to keep up. I mean, he's pretty outmatched, and he has survived longer than anyone could ask for. So, that is going to be a big deficit for him. Wazip starting to build back that... starting to claw at that deficit towards Daime. You know, making his own luck, similar to Colton in this opening with those 2 dupes to start. And now coming into the core, he has 3 torpedoes. He's going to shoot one of them at the wall, one of them at the core. Now shooting the other one at the torpedo wall. It takes its time to hit though, and then player 2 gets turned around, and he's gonna miss infinite torpedoes. And look how close he was. Like, the gate was open, he was turning into it, but just a little bit off. If he had an extra, like, frame or 2, he could have drifted a little more to the left and hit it. But it's just not gonna happen. And even as we say this, like, the time loss from that hasn't come through yet. Wazip is still continuing to claw back time as Daime makes a couple of mistakes in this Chancellor. Just gives Wazip a little bit more room. And coming into Hoth now, the lead is down to like 30 to 40 seconds. Wazip gets a fun little bit of time save there from the menuing. Doesn't need to scroll down to IT. Sure, he's very happy about that time save. And I mean, coming through this Hoth, it is also a really good arena. This is actually going to be a community gold Hoth. This one doesn't exactly count because, you know, he did save a couple seconds from that menuing. But still, I mean, even if you add that in mentally, like, he got a really good Hoth here. And he's going to take the lead in Hoth. And after a gold Echo base, he's got 40 seconds on Daime now. He is in the lead. And, I mean, here's the hard part, though. He has to play this without IT. And, I mean, it is honestly possible to play this and lose, you know, less than 40 seconds, which would keep him in first. The problem, really, though, for Wazip is he doesn't know the out-of-bounds. He's never played, really, like, any category that would require you to play this without IT, so he just doesn't have the same experience that someone like Colton did. Still, though, honestly, did a pretty good job in those rooms of catching those torpedoes very cleanly. Yeah, and without knowing the out-of-bounds, he is going to have to go into the Exegorth. I do think it's a little bit faster to instead backtrack in Room 3 instead of go to the Exegorth, but it's pretty similar either way, and especially when he can get through the Exegorth as cleanly as he did. At this point, you know, if he can have a good boulder, he's actually completely even in this race, but this is maybe the hardest part. I mean, we saw Colton have a little bit of trouble here. Wazip also doesn't come in with banked torpedoes, and that's really going to hurt, because, you know, it's just so hard to collect the torpedoes and also, like, have them at the time you need them. You know, when you have moving targets on this boulder, it's just so hard not to blank some. Like, on the, you know, the static torpedo walls, if you really can't afford a blank, you can take a second to line it up and make sure you will never blank. But the torpedoes on the boulder are moving, and you don't know where they're going to be when your torpedo actually hits. It just makes it so hard, and it's a little harder when you're going for risky shots like that. I really think Wazip did need to play that a bit safer, but also he is actively behind and kind of needs that luck to go his way to have a chance. It's just hard. I mean, the torpedoes spawn in the kill plane, like, what are you supposed to do about it? And now the boulder's not showing him the targets, really. I mean, at least wasn't for quite a while, and this last one also going to come back to the back of the boulder, uh, you know, and just throwing torpedoes, hoping for a miracle, and it's not going to come, at least right away. Wazip is just losing too much time on this boulder to come back from at this point. It's really devastating stuff because, like, everything else in the second half of this run has been really incredible. Like, super consistent through episodes 6 and 3, and a lot of really nice splits in there. It kind of reminds you how good Wazip can be and how Wazip could have been a playoff threat. But he is going to fall in this race. Daimi, a bridge skip away, and he does land it from first place in this race, from surviving elimination, and it's Daimi, who had really not a good start to this tournament, gets to the elimination rung last week, and that is exactly when he turns it on. Puts up a 222 last week. This week, a 221.51. That is a PB for Daimi in the ladder league, in the elimination rung, exactly when he needed it. Really good stuff. Sad to see Wazip go, though. He had the potential to really, make a play for top 8 in these last weeks. And, if he had IT, would have been winning this race, but it just wasn't meant to be. And for Mello, this time not getting a PB like he did last week, but still playing pretty close to it. Really impressive run he's been on these last few weeks to even get to this point. But, the road does have to end somewhere when you are the 18 seed. And finally, one more race this week. Rung 1, Jared Senor Wii Super. Winner gets the 5 seed. Winner gets to be a part of our first confirmed top 8 matchup against Zach. Very high stakes here. As time runs thin in the ladder, you don't want to lose, get to the elimination rung, and just lose out on chances to qualify. As I've been saying, somebody good is going to miss playoffs. And you don't want that to be you. You want to win this race right now and get there. And we're going to start with Justin on pod race. Gets out of bounds for lap 1 Godfraud, gets a height boost. A little bit of a weird redrop in there. It doesn't end up hurting him too much. But he is going to get pulled into the track because of it, and I don't think he accounted for that when he chose to call in player 2, because he's not going to get there, and that's going to throw him off a little bit. Player 2 comes in bounds in the cave section, and the problem is that cutscene is going to kill all of his speed, and player 1 is going to respawn right next to him, in bounds and backwards. So that's a level reset for Justin on lap 1 of Godfraud, minute and a half down the drain. And that's going to be very brutal, but maybe made a little bit less so by the fact that it was on lap 1, and made a little bit less so by the fact that both Senor and Jared are going to miss lap 3 Godfrey. The deficit for Wii Super, a little over a minute, coming out of pod race. But Jared and Senor are very close for first. Jared over 3,000 studs, coming into Roger skip that should get at least a single, over 80% of the time. But he, unfortunately, is not going to get that luck today. And he misses both Roger skip. Just, luck of the stud drops, but also maybe could add a better count, but still tough stuff there. And a couple of execution mistakes stack on top of it. Jared not having the best maul there, and Senor is going to take the lead in episode 2, but he's going to trade it right back here in Gunship. He's going to feed this bomb straight into this droid, and that's going to be a pretty big time loss. Not huge, but, enough to give back everything you would have saved on a level like Maul. We are very close between these two, coming into the mid-game. And Wii Super's still a bit behind, trying to claw back that lead on somewhere like Trash Skip. And look, I don't know my Trash Skip setups that well, but that did not quite look like one of them. Yeah, it's going to be a miss on that out of bounds for Justin. Bit of time loss there, and it's in like episode 6 where we really start to see some separation between the top two. It's going to be Senor taking this 12-button skip, nailing it, getting a really clean Endor, really clean episode 6, really in and out. Senor is going to take first place. And now it's Jared here in the middle. Needs to kind of catch up. Really needs a good opening to make back that deficit. But he's started to accumulate just slowly over the last few levels. And the torpedoes are there early, but they are going to dry up very fast. And this is going to start to be a problem. I mean, gets this one, gets, 5 of the 8 torpedoes he needs, but getting the rest is going to be a big lift. Torpedoes just simply stop coming. And it's really crazy, man. You just gotta think, like, every second you're sitting here is just pure time loss until you see that torpedo. And after some time, it's gonna really turn into a big pivot point in this race. The race changes from Jared chasing Senor for first to now Jared, needs to play well to avoid Justin catching up in second place. I mean, he's gonna be basically directly between the two, about 40 seconds to a minute on either side. But Senor certainly not going to give him that time back. Senor is going to walk in a first place in this race, a spot in playoffs, and a meeting with Zach in the 4-5 game in Indianapolis. A very good ending from Senor to secure that. But we got a race here for second, Justin versus Jared, and coming into the boulder, I mean, we talk a lot about the Wii Super luck, especially on this big spinning rock. It hasn't entirely been there so far in Ladder League, but right now, when Justin needs it the most, the boulder delivers, showing him all of the targets he needs, really moving at the perfect speed to cycle through all of them. He gets a good torpedo target there, and a really nice Falcon flight's going to save Justin some time, putting pressure on Jared. He still has a lead, about 20 seconds or so coming into CCT, and he's going to lose that very quickly if he keeps missing DV3. A bit of trouble from Jared, and suddenly, piece by piece in this episode 5, Justin has been able to claw back that lead. And it is now very close because Justin comes into DV3, he hits it first try. And coming out of CCT, these two runners are 2 seconds apart. 2 seconds separate them with 1 level to go. Any small mistake in Bespin can flip this. Every room has that kind of variance, Something like missing that camera pan skip for Justin becomes a really big deal because now his deficit is a little more real. He needs Jared to probably miss bridge skip to even have a chance. You see the lead Jared has coming up on box clip. It's not big, but it is big enough that Jared is in control of his fate here. Now, takes a bit of damage on Leia, trying to kill himself against the wall, but he's too close to the wall that he's blanking. That is going to lose him some time. Also, stays in the pause menu for a second, trying to realize what's going on. Justin has 4 hearts on Leia, doesn't need to do any death to set that up. That is an advantage for him. Jared did get that death off, though. We see he still has the lead. If he can get first try bridge skip, he's going to be good. Pushes Chewie a little bit, though, but not enough to throw him off, but still he misses, and now Justin's in the same room. Jared getting the attempt off, but Justin can go for Deathless, and they're both across at the same time. Who can take a faster line to the Falcon door? That is the only thing that separates these runners, and Justin wins by 0.7 seconds. Have you ever seen a race closer than this? Are you kidding me? This was really an insane thing to watch live. I mean, it like literally broke our tech because they got the same time to the second. We had to go to decimals for the first time I can ever think of. I mean, this is going to show Jared as a 2:20:30. It was a 29.8 that he got, but Justin gets the 29.1 to stay in second. Just an unfathomably close ending. I mean, they were literally tied. They hit they got onto the end platform at the exact same moment. And it was the faster line that Justin took to the Falcon door that separated it. But I mean, you can go back, because it's 0.7 seconds, you can look at like any tiny time loss and say that's the thing that cost him. I'm sure you can find this in basically every room, nitpick away that Jared lost 1 second and say, like, if you did this better, you would have won the race. Or at least, gotten second, that is. It's insane. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'll give Senor a little bit more credit here, Very consistent in this ladder. He had the best average coming into this week of surviving runners. Definitely deserves this qualification. It's going to be a tough matchup for him in top 8, but I think he's happy to just be there, and we'll see what happens when we get to Indy. Also a pretty nice one from Justin. Not the best times for either of these two, but it's fine. I mean, Justin has been putting up 220s this whole time. This is very status quo from him. I think he really needed this time because he is not the most secure in terms of like being favored in the wild card match. He should make it there, but he would really hope to just avoid that entirely because you don't want to be down in that 1v1 situation. And now Jared very well might be. He's got to win next week with first place just to get into week 7, where he then has to win to avoid the wild card match. Very consequential 0.7 second gap here. Justin takes second place in remarkable fashion. Yeah. And now let's look ahead to the playoffs. I touched on this briefly. The big thing I want to note for the wild card is that if everything goes as we expect, the wild card is pretty much set to be 2 out of 4 of Bricko, Jared, Laser, Justin. There's really only 2 things that can upset this. First of all, as I've mentioned, if Colton or Dimey can get that 7 seed, they do completely throw this off. And then it becomes actually very important. Look at Laser and Justin. Their averages are 1 second apart. If we have a world where, let's say, Bricko gets the 6 seed and then Colton gets the 7 seed, Jared's going to get fastest time wildcard almost certainly. And then the other spot in the wildcard match will come down to average between Laser and Justin. And so that 1 second gap could be a huge difference. I mean, it won't be 1 second later. Someone will make up that time, but I mean, they're going to be going head to head these last 2 weeks. If somebody can make up some difference there, that's going to mean a lot, even if second place technically doesn't matter directly because only first place qualifies. You still want to be getting second place in those races. The other main thing to talk about, though, is Laser's fastest time right now at 2:19.26. Justin's a 2:20.08. The other way this can flip is if Colton gets a really good time. He could beat Laser's fastest time. And then, if, Bricko gets the 6, Jared gets the 7, it would actually be Colton getting the fastest time. And again, we're down to Laser versus Justin for the average. Couple of ways this can go haywire. If you're Laser or Justin, you definitely want to be beating each other because you don't want there to be any risk of missing the wildcard match. But someone might be in that position. We'll have to see. I do want to emphasize that the likeliest outcome here is just that, 2 out of 4 of those top 4 qualify and the other 2 are in the wildcard match. But there are still a couple of ways that this average can matter a lot. And this will take me into predictions for the week. Only 2 races to predict this week. We'll start with Rung 1, Bricko, Wii Super Laser. I have mentioned that I am kind of trying to chase the points in the prediction game. I'm a little bit behind, need to make up some ground. And I'm willing to do that here. I'm willing to take Flaming Laser. I like his odds here. I think that PB completely does not reflect his skill level. And, I mean, the points here are pretty big. I think there's definitely a world where he bounces back, gets like a 2:18 in this race, and that's a very competitive time. Very much could get that win. I think there's a lot of value in picking Laser in this one. Now, before I talk about Rung 2, I am going to throw to Jar Jar for the Jar Jar Lock of the Week, see what he has to say.
Alright, welcome to Chargers Lock of the Week, Week 6. We're going to do a little bit of contexto today to get this one, to get our Lock of the Week this week. Let's get it going. We're going to go start out technology. How about sports? Mariners. Cubs. How about Texas? Director? Wait, I think I know where we're going with this. How about Bestman Clutcher? Oh, not Bestman, not a Bestman Clutcher. Okay. How about Trumpet? Okay. Baseball? Okay. Oh wait, it's just Jared. It's just Jared, right? Yeah, it is Jared. Okay, bang. That's your Lock of the Week. It's Jared, 97.
And the Gungan has selected Jared, and I definitely get it. Very much the safest pick this week. Jared definitely, he's just simply, a step or two ahead of these other runners in his race. But the tournament consistency hasn't exactly been there. Definitely raises a few questions about him, though, you can have bigger consistency questions about Colton or Dimey. I think the thing is, though, like, there's a wide range of outcomes for all of these runners. You may as well take a bit of a risk. I said I'm chasing points, and this is really where I'm going to do it. Not quite all the way. I'm not going to take Dimey. I just don't think he has the same potential that Colton has. I think, even Dimey could get a PB and Jared could have a bad run and still beat it. That's just how big that gap is. But for Colton, if Colton gets a PB or plays close to it, Jared has lost to that many times. So I think I'm gonna go for Colton here. I know Colton has the time to really grind this week before the race, and I think that's gonna show. I'm gonna take Colton to win again. Hopefully it pays off for me this time. Now, as I mentioned, no more Frog of the Week, no more leapfrogging, so this is going to be the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. Let's watch these races. Very exciting race to the finish line.